Hello, this is Brian Rowe with Mythic MTG Tech, talking about a very difficult topic today: mistakes in Magic. Most games are determined by mistakes. When I show up to a Friday Night Magic, or a game day, or even a Pro Tour qualifier, almost any game you watch, you can see several mistakes being made on both sides of the board. And by the end of the game, someone usually walks away cursing their luck, if not both people cursing and praising their luck.
I think he can block with Linval in a lot of spots because
I mean, he could double block here, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, a double block is fine. Like if you're just gonna block, you're opening yourself. Like if you just block with your Restoration Angel, you're opening yourself up to Electrolyze, and that's kind of how you've been playing the match thus far. So a double block just seems like the most intuitive play.
okay.
You're gonna lose that Linvala, but your opponent won't have enough mana to cast Kiki Jiki anyway.
This would be a pretty big play if it goes down, though, because that Electrolyze is going to take down Kitchen Finks and Linvala here, potentially.
Yeah.
That's going to make the Elemental less of an issue. And that does, in fact, happen here. And there's Sean McLaren. BBD New is coming, though. And here's a draw step. It's a Lightning Bolt.
That's really
so
good.
He can actually just kill that Elemental right now if he wants. So that worked out very well for Sean McLaren, as he is threatening to untap and kill Brian Brownduin, and he's got an Electrolyze and a Lightning Bolt in his hand. He can cast only one of those, but he can break up a combo basically if he needs to.
Yeah, here Brian has a few different options. Brian can sacrifice his Wall of Roots, go find himself an Eternal Witness, and attempt to recast the Linvala to protect himself from that Kiki Jiki.
Okay.
Of course, he doesn't know the Kiki Jiki is there.
He knows it exists.
Oh, yeah.
In McLaren's deck. They have seen each other's deck lists. Doesn't know he has it in his hand, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, Brian Brownduin is a leg up on the rest of Sean McLaren's competition over the course of the weekend, as Sean has just been getting people with that Kiki Jiki combo. But
Yeah,
it will be much more difficult to get Brian Brownduin with it. Randy, what's going on our side tables?
Well, I just watched Nathan Holliday with Malirapod against Andrew Huska, who's playing Jund, and Bob got the job done. Thoughtseize made sure there was no Birthing Pod from Holliday. Dark Confidant came down on turn 2. By 3 or 4 turns later, Nathan Holliday was just saying, Emrakul, please reveal Emrakul. It's my only chance. I need you to reveal Emrakul. He did not reveal Emrakul.
Didn't get there. Okay.
No. The funniest fact from that match, I think, though, is Nathan Holliday's, the cards that he's shuffling up are actually in their 3rd Grand Prix top 8. He borrowed them from Sam Pardee.
Oh, wow. Maybe it's the deck.
Oh, man.
It's got to be the cards.
Yeah, man, maybe a Weeby Squash Banana. Like Rafiki, like, cast a spell on it.
There you go.
Shook the mangoes over it or whatever.
So Birthing Pod looks like it's going to be activated here.
Oh, it's definitely getting activated. The question is for what?
Yes.
So you can sacrifice this Wall of Roots and get a Eternal Witness. Or you can sacrifice the Phyrexian Metamorph and get Revelark.
He's going to get Revelark. So Sean had him pause there because for the moment there, the Elemental's a 2/2. Ooh, he's going to get Shriekmaw, though, and kill the Angel, and that is going to actually leave Sean McLaren without his combo piece in hand there, or on the board. He's got another one in his hand, but that could be a whole other turn of setup here as Brian Brownduin continues to grind. Interesting. Good old Shriekmaw doing work. And there's a Noble Hierarch, which makes the Elemental token a 4/4 and then a 5/5 on attacks.
Yep.
And you got to wonder if Sean was like, maybe I should have killed that thing. He could still kill it now with Lightning Bolt, though, with Noble Hierarch on the stack.
He does have that opportunity.
But he didn't do it. So trigger, get in there for 5. And Electrolyze is going to kill Shriekmaw. which means that he's going to take 1 less damage, making it 4 instead. So he's going to drop down to 9. And BBD, is he handless here? No cards in hand?
Is that the case?
I believe so. I think he just played that land and said go, so passes a turn back. And now Sean McLaren gets to start going to work on Brian Branduin's board, and it's going to be Lightning Bolt, and then it's going to be Electrolyze to clean off all of the creatures on BBD's board. Bing, bing. They're all gone. And Brian Branduin is on no cards in hand. The question is, does Sean McLaren have enough mana to cast a Restoration Angel after all that? No. His only land... Uh-oh. Something's happening. Is this a Vendilion Click? It is a Vendilion Click as well. Shows him a Bird of Paradise. What's the worst thing he could get for 2 mana here?
Voice of Resurgence, but...
Yeah, so who cares about that?
Yeah, I don't think Sean's going to bother.
He just let him have it.
Yeah.
And there's a Bird of Paradise, and it should get upgraded here to something. But a big swing for Sean McLaren. All of a sudden, he looks to be in the driver's seat here. I wonder if it's just quicker to try to kill his opponent using Celestial Colonnade and his Vendilion Click. Okay, that is also a bad one. Yeah, I think that the Voice of Resurgence was pretty ignorable, but Scavenging News is not.
Definitely not.
Okay. Yep.
And I think Sean must have just showed him. Okay, so he showed him the land, the Restoration Angel, and the Kiki Jiki, and with Brian Brown out. Oh, it's not?
Yeah, we know that.
Oh, 1 spell per turn. So Randy was a little off.
Yeah, Randy
there.
was wrong. It was
Okay.
the wrong Eidolon. I was just...
You should let him know.
What?
You should let us know that.
I mean, I already explained what Eidolon it was. It's just trying to keep the peace, you know? All right, so Birthing Pod coming down. Pays 2 life there.
So here's Birthing Pod for Brian Ronduin. He's going to be at 18, but it has resolved.
We don't know.
This is a question mark, yeah.
Oh, this is a question.
I'm leaving it floating in the air until,
Okay.
because it's a little hard for us to tell. I'm assuming it has, though.
It doesn't look like Sean has much in the way of an answer to it in his hand. Shadow of Doubt there is going to be able to counter at least 1 activation of this Birthing Pod and draw Sean a card.
How big is that?
It's pretty huge because, I mean...
Just Brian, 1 activation?
Well, Brian also has to sacrifice a creature there. And, I mean, he has to put mana into it. So it is like countering a spell and drawing a card. So even though you're just countering, an artifact's activation, with that Shadow of Doubt, you're still kind of, Cryptic Commanding for 2 mana.
So you're asking me if I would play blue to draw a card, kill a creature, and tap 1 or 2 of my opponent's lands? Yeah, I'm in for that.
Yeah, but
you're
also turning off a card they already paid 3 mana and 2 life for.
Sure.
So
yeah, it seems really awesome. Here's Relic of Progenitus as well. It's going to start going to work on Brian Branduin's Graveyard, which hits on 2 axes from this one. It shuts off the Melira combo, and it also just hits random value cards, like it can get Kitchen Fink so that it doesn't get to come back, Revelark, make that not come back. Same thing with Murderous Redcap, those type of cards as well.
Yeah, Relic really strong in a matchup like this. If at any point Sean runs out of cards and he needs to cash that in for an extra card, he can even do so.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even come up short in those places.
All right, BBD has played an untapped shock land. Oh, and it's Thrun the last troll here. Wow. That doesn't care about Shadow of Doubt. It doesn't care about Lightning Bolt or Relic of Progenitus. Thrun Daddy is going to start beating down here. And Sean's got a whole new set of problems to deal with. What a great sideboard card for Brian Branduin.
Yeah, now Sean's only out to this Thrun is Wrath of God. He has 2 copies of it in his sideboard. He's going to need to draw another land and draw the Wrath. He found the land now. Now he just needs the Wrath. So...
Okay. It's a very awkward card for Sean because, you know, one part of his core game plan is playing those Wall of Omens and hiding behind those. They do neutralize a lot of different threats, but Thrun, he's too big. Okay, Wall of Omens, dig. Looking for Wrath of God. Now, of course, the key thing about this specific card, we're actually talking about real Wrath of God here. You know, we use that term as a generic term for sweeper cards in Magic, but this one's really a Wrath of God, and the reason he's playing it is because of Thrun. I mean,
yes, it is because of Thrun. The reason he's playing that over Supreme Verdict, and people may be surprised and be like, well, Supreme Verdict's uncounterable. Why would he choose Wrath of God? And the truth is that, well, you need to be able to make a creature not regenerate.
And Wrath of God says they cannot be regenerated, so this is going to be a furious dig here for one of those copies of Wrath of God. He will have brought them in, so they're in there somewhere. And Sean McLaren does have the ability to A, stay alive for quite a while, and B, dig through his deck pretty efficiently too. So he doesn't have that many turns. Right now he's got 4 to 5 depending on how that wall does, but this could get ugly.
And fast.
Yes. And by the way, Brian Bronduin also gets to just keep using Birthing Pod and casting creatures. Like, it's not...
Yeah.
It's not like he just is all in on Thrun. It's just one angle that he gets to attack from. All right, make blue. Maybe even make blue-red. Cast Spell Snare targeting Wall of Roots. And there's a Voice of Resurgence and a land for BBD, and he's got one card left. So this is very quickly becoming a Wrath of God or no game. Does have some time, though.
Yeah, it looks like he has another Wall of Omens in his hand, too. So.
He's got another wall?
Yeah, and he also has a Restoration Angel, so he can block with a wall and then blink it.
Okay. Although, with the Voice of Resurgence, things get a little sketchy with that game plan.
That's true. I mean, I'm talking about on the turns down the line.
Gotcha.
His Shadow of Doubt just got a lot worse with that voice in play. But the good news is that Brian's likely to sacrifice that Voice of Resurgence to the Birthing Pod, and then once the Voice of Resurgence is in the graveyard and the Birthing Pod is activated, then with that Birthing Pod activation on the stack, after the voice is not in play, Sean can then go ahead and use Shadow of Doubt.
And he has kept up the mana for Shadow of Doubt yet again, although it's interesting because in Sean's deck, that's not suspicious at all. Like, there's a lot of cards that cost that much that he'd want to keep up anyway. BBD has had a chance to see deck list, so he's going to be aware of the card Shadow of Doubt, but they know how much you can go around playing around it.
It's a one-of. You can't really play
around it. And it's only a one-of?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Elemental Token and Thrun the Last Troll accompany Birthing Pod here for Brian Bronduin, and he's going to attack with both. So a 2/2 and a 4/4, but he has Gavany Township looming down there, ready to activate. No reason not to block the Elemental here, though, right? Even then, it only becomes a 3/3?
Yeah, I think you just block the Elemental. I don't think it really can come over the top in any other way.
Yeah.
So for those who are unaware about Shadow of Doubt, Shadow of Doubt is a rare from Ravnica. Its casting cost is 2 mana, spent with either blue or black mana, so 2 hybrid mana. And it says target player cannot search their library this turn.
I think it's even
draw a
just
card.
players can't search libraries, maybe.
Players
But
can't
yeah,
search their libraries this turn, and then draw a card. Great card. Against fetch lands, it's essentially a 2-mana Stone Rain that draws you a card, which is very strong.
Right. You can really get people with that card. I like it as a one-of.
Yeah, figure one for two. One of you.
All the triggers.
There are very few decks that completely dodge the Shadow of Doubt.
Yeah, anyway, figure.
They don't see them.
But only trigger. I play this and yeah.
All right, BBD cracks his Verdant Catacombs.
Oh, I didn't see the other two.
And that actually happens.
If he technically gets
Sean realizes that blanking Brian Broadwin on one random land here isn't really going to get the job done.
Doesn't see that.
Yeah, he really wants to save that Shadow of Doubt to deal with the Birthing Pod activation.
Right. Especially with Brian Broadwin being fairly light on creatures here. You know, he can start chaining up that elemental, but it's a long way to go. He's going to have to get a 1-drop. Probably not going to do a ton here. Ooh, he's going to sack Thrun the Last Troll here, and boom! Shadow of Doubt. Unbelievable. Thrun the Last Troll hits the graveyard. Sean gets to draw a card off of that transaction. That is brutal.
That is very brutal.
As advertised, Jake, brutal.
Yes.
BBD cracked that fetch, tried to get him to cast it. But Sean wasn't biting. And now Thrun was the last troll. And he's sitting in the graveyard.
And now things are looking really bad for Brian Brunduin. Sean McLaren, the firm lead in this game right now.
And he uses a Tectonic Edge to take down Gavany Township. BBD responds by activating it, so he does get that elemental to at least a little bit bigger. Currently a 2-2, but with 2 Wall of Omens, it's not getting anything done anytime soon. Here's a Thoughtseize. And Sean's just going to let him have at it because he's got Mana Leak, 2 Restoration Angels, and a land.
Yeah, so Brian's going to go ahead and take one of these 2 Angels, but then Sean's going to end up drawing 2 cards by the time it's his next turn anyway. All right.
Okay, Rashad's got an update for us.
All right, I got an update from that Scape Shift match that's going on.
Okay.
So, Scape Shift resolves with 6 sacrifice, go get 6 mountains. But
this sounds
Nick,
good for Park.
Yeah, but Nick has 2 Tectonic Edges in play.
Oh no!
So he's able to destroy 2 of his non-basic mountains, so that the other 4 don't. So that none of the
so only 4 mountains entered the battlefield at one time.
Well, only 4 mountains are on the battlefield when all of those Valakut triggers resolve. So
it checks upon resolution.
It checks upon resolution, and he just didn't take any damage.
Oh, brutal.
I didn't know if you saw the Scape Shift.
Magic is a game of skill, and one of the things that separates the extremely good players and the strong players from everyone else is their ability to look at and critically analyze their mistakes retrospectively from their own games and from the games of other strong players. This is a quote from a recent article done by Brian Baldoon, BBD, a writer over at Star City Games. It looks critically at his top 8 performance at a recent GP. In Game 1, he made a minor mistake with Wall of Roots of taking and putting 1 additional -0/-1 counter on it. As you watch through on the game, it turns out that removing that 1 counter cost him 3 creatures and a dominant board position. An extremely important play very early on. But what's more important is that he noticed the impact of that play. He didn't chalk up the loss to his opponent having the right card. He chalked it up to a particular choice that was made during the game that could have been made better. I'm going to go over some recent mistakes that I myself have made that I have definitely learned from. Number 1 is read the f***ing card. I played recently in a pre-release. I had went through and read every card 2 days in advance and focused on the ones that I thought were best for my upcoming videos. I was confident that I knew all the cards in the environment, and then I got into the games and I made at least 7 different mistakes throughout the course of 4 rounds, one of which cost me a game. And another one, I missed it so embarrassingly that it wasn't until my opponent had asked to read the card, over here with Harvest Guard, that I even realized that it was a Constellation card. Somehow my mind thought the whole thing was flavor text. I didn't actually read it. The other one here was with Deepwater Hypnotist. I missed the Inspired trigger, which cost me 2 damage and cost me that game. I was fortunate to actually do rather well in this pre-release. I went 3-0-1, which is a record most people are extremely happy with. No losses, got a bunch of prize packs. Most players would walk away from a positive performance like that and say, hey, I'm doing great, I'm on top of my game. But in order to get better at any competitive game, you must look at even the situations in which you win and find the little mistakes, the little things that you could have done better and that you will do better next time. Another mistake that I ran into was recently playing at a very casual event with some friends. My opponent had me on the ropes. I had 2 bears, overpriced bears in play, and they had a bunch of goblins from their storm deck in play. What they missed was that if they impaled a few goblins on my frogmites, my bears, that they would be able to add up to enough damage to knock me out. And this is a very common mistake that I see, is that people look at this turn, can they win? Not can they win with attrition over 2 or 3 turns. Sometimes there's a short-term sacrifice that gets you what you need in the long term. So do the math, try to look forward to what the position will look like a few turns from now. And it's okay to lose in the short term if you come out to win in the long term. Another common mistake that individuals miss, and I miss this all the time, my first Legacy tournament back here a few weeks ago over at Card Kingdom, and when I say first Legacy, I mean first one back competitively because I've taken a break working way too many hours, I missed Ancestral Vision triggers twice, one of which clearly cost me 3 cards and probably the game. One of the easiest things you can do is bring dice to the tournament and put a die directly on top of the deck so that you don't miss any triggers during your upkeep. That die should act as a permanent reminder ingrained on your head saying, look at the cards, make sure you didn't miss Inspired, make sure that you didn't miss Suspend, make sure that you didn't miss something during upkeep. Extremely legal, allowed to be done. It's okay to create these reminders for yourself. Don't rush. Take each board state 1 second at a time. Lands. My next few here are going to focus on lands. I was playing a practice playtest session with a fan from the channel where we were both playing red, blue, white modern decks. Sequencing of lands is extremely important. What lands you go get is extremely important. I knew that my opponent had Geist of St. Traft in their deck, but I made the mistake on turn 1 when I needed to lightning bolt something of using a Scalding Tarn to fetch a Steam Vents, which took 3 damage, when I could have fetched instead a Mountain and only taken 1 damage. The difference between being at 17 life and being at 19 life is gigantic when you're playing against Geist of St. Traft. It's an entire turn's worth of damage. The clock is significantly faster. And it came down to that 1 turn that ended the game. Even pros at the highest level make mistakes with regards to land. As you go back and look at that BBD video that was linked earlier in this, think about the way in which he sequenced his lands. He made a mistake that none of the commentators noticed, and that was putting a Gavany Township out instead of a Razor Verge Thicket, which meant that he had to play a Godless Shrine untapped a few turns later, or maybe even as early as a turn later, that cost him 2 damage. In the last turn, he was killed with exact damage. He missed an entire draw step opportunity to pull out a game worth several $1,000s by mis-sequencing lands, by rushing a little bit too quickly and dropping the wrong land. I have also made similar mistakes when playing Legacy in choosing which lands to tap, which lands to leave untapped. When playing against a burn deck recently, I cost myself 4 points of damage by tapping a wasteland and leaving a colored land available in colors that I didn't actually need, knowing that my opponent had Price of Progress in their deck. If I had left the wasteland available, I could have wastelanded my own dual land, saving me 4 points of damage on that burn spell. You need to think about more than just what optimizes your mana to give you the most options. You also have to think about the options that are available and unusual plays, such as destroying your own lands in response to a spell to save yourself some life. The major takeaway here, though, is not to get down on yourself for mistakes that you make. It's that each individual mistake is the best learning opportunity available to you. If you learn from your own mistakes, you will remember those lessons a lot longer and you will improve yourself as a player. You can learn a lot from your mistakes and the mistakes of others. You can learn more from those mistakes than you can from watching successful or perfect play. It is important after each game, after each match, to take a few seconds in a post-mortem and write down, whether you won or lost, any areas you can possibly think of on your score sheet where you could have done better or where your opponent could have done better. Later, when you review your performance in that tournament, these notes are going to be the key to improving your game and making sure that you don't repeat those mistakes again and again. Thanks. This has been Brian Rowe with Mythic MTG Tech. This is number 5 of 5 for this week's videos. Next week is going to be a little more casual. I'll probably have 1 or 2 videos. A week after that, I'm going to try this again of doing 5 videos in a single week. Thank you so much for all the sponsors that are out there. Anybody who wants to join sponsorship for this, please check us out on Patreon. Hope you enjoyed this series, and I hope this helps you get one step closer to becoming a pro tour or professional player, or just having fun with your friends by playing better Magic.